Okay, folks, thank you so much for your patience. I'm going to go ahead and call our meeting for January 5th, 2026 to order. It is 6:19 p.m. And again, thank you for your patience. For those that are watching or listening online, we are not able to get the video to stream. So whether you're streaming online or you're participating via the Teams link, the video is not working, but sound is. There will continue to be a sound recording of this meeting and, of course, minutes taken from it. But our apologies for this technical issue. We'll continue to work on that. In the meantime, we are going to carry forward with our City Council meeting. So with that, and before we get started with the agenda, if you will join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And before we get started, we'll do our roll call. And Ms. Trimble, before I ask you to do roll call, I just want to welcome our new city council members and council members who have new terms starting here in 2026. So we have Councillor Krask from Ward 1, Councillor Ponton, Ward 2, Councillor Savage, Ward 3, Councillor Nugent, Ward 4, Councillor Anderson, Ward 5, and Councillor Jordan, Ward 6. Councillor McCoy started in December, so does not have a new term starting in 2026, but relatively new here. And then I also just started my new term for a 4-year term starting in 2026. So it's an honor to serve with all of you. Happy New Year to you all. Happy 2026. It's really unbelievable to be saying that. I'm just going to make sure the tech crew, we're okay. We can keep going. Looks like it. All right, just keep going. So, you were all my witness that. I think, Claire, you're here to do roll call first. Ms. Trimble? Oh, goodness. Can you?
Excuse me, Mayor, should we be seeing, oh wait, can now. I was like, we couldn't see the words up there for a bit.
Thank you. I'm glad to see that's working. That's good. Okay. All right. Claire, if you can hear me, we're ready for roll call, please. Claire, we can't hear your voice. But we can see the words on the screen. We're going to get all the bugs out of the way at this first meeting of 2026. I know. Have you ever seen that movie Gremlins? It happens. They got into this building, they messed around with stuff over Christmas break. Is my audio picking up? Do you see my, yeah, okay. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I certainly could, you bet, absolutely. And Claire, I can certainly go ahead and do roll call, and we'll do the best we can with our meeting this evening without having you on audio. I can certainly read the consent agenda and things of that nature. Okay, that sounds great. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start with roll call this evening. All right, we'll start with Ward 1. All right. Eric Nelson.
Present.
Betsy Krask.
Present.
Justin Ponton.
Present.
Mirta Becerra.
Present.
Jennifer Savage.
Present.
Gwen Jones.
Present.
Mike Nugent.
Present.
Amber Sherrill.
Present.
Bob Campbell.
Here.
Hold on, who's there? Stacy Anderson? Not online this evening. Okay. Stacy Anderson absent. Sean McCoy
Here.
and Kristen Jordan.
Present?
Okay, thank you very much. It looks like we have 11 council members present this evening. Welcome, everyone. All right, now, as if tonight couldn't get weirder, you are all my witnesses. There's no video to actually record this, but I also made a wager with the mayor of Bozeman during the FCS playoff semifinals that whomever won that game, the other city, their presiding officer had to wear their team's hat for 5 minutes during the next council or commission meeting. This is our next meeting. Now, unfortunately, this is not being recorded. It's a real shame, and you are my witnesses that this is not something that I planned, I swear. But I am going to need some video recording and or photographic evidence of this. Okay, so, oh, it is? Oh, great. Okay. All right, here it goes. So as our chief of police also had a wager with the chief of police in Bozeman as well. And so Chief Collier's a man of his word. I'm a woman of my word. And so here we are wearing our friendly opponent's hat. And I do want to say that the Montana Grizzlies played an excellent season, an excellent football team. And I very much wish the MSU, the Montana State University, the best tonight. They are playing in the national championships, and so go Montana. So, all right. All right. Montana State. Go Montana State. All right. All right, thanks, folks. Appreciate your humor and goodwill. Okay, now, 5 minutes, so help me keep track, okay? Thank you. Minutes from December 15th, 2025. We have our minutes from December 15th. Do any council members have any questions or suggested changes, clarifications to those minutes? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Those minutes will remain as submitted. Thank you very much. The next is we do have our committee meeting for this coming Wednesday. And that's the committee schedule for January 7th, 2026. Ms. Trimble, please say if your microphone works. Otherwise, I'll just mention that our committee schedule will starts at 10 in the morning and it lasts until 5:40 with a lunch break from 12:55 to 1:30 p.m. And I don't believe there are any changes to the committee schedule. For members of the audience, all of our city council committees are located online on the City of Missoula City Council website. All of the meetings and their documents for each committee meeting is located online. Okay. All right. So next we'll move on to special presentations and proclamations. And we'll start with a proclamation for the Ballet Beyond Borders Week. So Ms. Trimble, if you can go ahead and share your screen, I'll go ahead and read the proclamation. Maybe. And if not, this proclamation is also available on our City of Missoula, oh, there it is, agenda. All right. Here we go. So whereas the Ballet Beyond Borders, BBB, will bring together outstanding young dancers from around the world and serve as an introduction to an international career. And whereas Ballet Beyond Borders will promote and enhance the culture and creative diversity of the City of Missoula to the benefit of our citizens, our creative community, and our visitors. And whereas activities made available through Ballet Beyond Borders will bring recognition to the City of Missoula as a city on the leading edge of cultural activity and development. And whereas BBB will build on the City of Missoula's reputation as a city of learning, a city that embeds cultural exchange, cultural curiosity, and cultural development as part of lifelong learning. And whereas offers Missoulians, Ballet Beyond Borders offers Missoulians a chance to warm their hearts with live performances that will amaze and inspire all in the month of January. Now, therefore, I, Andrea Davis, Mayor of the City of Missoula in the state of Montana, hereby recognize the week of January 10th through the 16th as Ballet Beyond Borders Week. And we have Charlene to come and present. I believe we have somebody in the audience that wishes to speak to this a little bit this evening. Come on up. You can adjust that microphone up closer to you if that's a little more comfortable, and then we can hear you better. Is it on? Yep, we have the microphone is on. Are you hearing it online? Sorry for Oh, well, that's an easy thing to fix. Councilor Melson, thank you. Oh, appreciate it. Yeah, well, I believe that, but let's get you on mic and on record. Good Lord.
I know.
Give it a test, test, test.
Hello.
That's perfect. Thank you. All right.
I'm
Councilor Melson, thank
Charlene
you.
Campbell Carey, the Artistic Director of Rocky Mountain Ballet Theater and Ballet Beyond Borders. We've been in existence now for 29 years, and we've been traveling internationally since 2002. This is our 10th anniversary of Ballet Beyond Borders, and I think it's pretty miraculous that we have 35 different countries represented online and in person. I've been to the airport 5 times today. We've got dancers, singers, visual artists from Pakistan. And our company has just returned from Pakistan. We've been in Pakistan, Cuba, Brazil, everywhere for the last few years. We're thrilled to be home in Montana. Please come see what we're doing. It's actually, the dates were wrong on that. It's actually 8th, 9th, and 10th. So everybody is here. Matter of fact, they started arriving a month ago because now they're all best friends. We've actually had 3 Ballet Beyond Borders weddings, and people marry Missoulians and get degrees now from the University of Montana. And frankly, we're so proud to continue to take Montana wherever we go. We're home. It's been 3 years. January 8, 9, and 10, you can come meet the choreographer and director of Madonna and Michael Jackson and all kinds of excitement that we've never been able to bring here before. The gala is 6 p.m., Denison Theater, Saturday night. Hope to see you there.
Wonderful. Thank you for coming down, and also thank you for your incredible cultural investment for our community and the world.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming down tonight. All right. That is our only proclamation this evening. And so before we move on to the public comment for items that are not on the agenda, I just want to mention that, Claire, we're moving to public comment for items that are not on the agenda. So if there is a sign-up sheet up front, that would be awesome. That's great. I'll take this moment to, again, congratulate the University of Montana Grizzlies for a great season and wish the MSU Bobcats good luck tonight in the national championship. I'm going to remove my Hello Kitty bag from the dais here and go ahead. I think we're probably at 5 minutes.
You're past 5 minutes. You can take that now.
Thank you. Okay. Great. Thanks, Claire. Great. Okay, folks. So I'll just remind us that City Council has recently changed the agenda to allow for 2 periods of public comment for items that are not on the agenda. The first period of public comment on items not on the agenda is limited to 20 minutes, with up to 3 minutes allotted per speaker. Each person may speak once per meeting concerning items not on the agenda. In-person comments take precedence. Sign-up is required and follows a first-come, first-served basis. The second period of public comment on items not on the agenda will follow immediately after the conclusion of all regular business and continue until all comments have been taken. So with that, I'll go ahead and get our 20-minute period started and go to our public commenters who have signed up. And I apologize that I cannot, is it Susan? Synth? Suzette, oh, that's Suzette. My apologies, Suzette. Come on up.
So I'm here tonight to thank you for extending the approval of the zoning rewrite into January. This is the first day that I've actually had time to actually dig into the document. Mostly,
Please talk into the microphone and go ahead and introduce yourself again for the record.
oh,
Suzette Dussault.
so you want me to start out the very beginning?
You bet. Start
Okay,
right
all
over.
right.
You bet.
All right, my name is Suzette Dussault. I want to thank you for extending the deadline for adopting this radical document into January, that it was not approved on December 22nd when many, many people were occupied with other parts of their lives. So today was the first day I had an opportunity to really dig into this document. First of all, I tried to find the document and the guiding principles, and my understanding is that this is the guiding principles for the new zoning rewrite. Is that correct? And so I also learned that there are several other documents that the city has adopted over the years, climate concerns over the years, a housing study over the years, and the recently adopted Parks and Rec. And I am concerned that many of the recommendations or decisions made in this document, the zoning rewrite, do not comply fully. Now, I understand, of course, that you are facing a conundrum. You have a crisis on your hand. We do not have affordable housing in Missoula. By any stretch of the imagination. And so your zoning rewrite is trying to address part of that. But I am very concerned about parts of this which particularly speak to the density of our community, which is inherent in the idea of housing. We need density, but I am concerned that we are losing the fabric, the core of Missoula when we adopt this zoning. Case in point, the downtown. According to your document, the downtown is the heart of the community, which it is. Everyone will agree with that. Offering a vibrant, pedestrian-friendly environment. It is a place where people live, work, and place, supported by high-intensity density of commercial uses, services, and public amenities. What they are suggesting in this is that the downtown be the focal point for the largest and tallest buildings. Now, I want to remind you that we have discussed this for 20 years in Missoula. At one point in Vision 2020 discussions, we talked about 20,000 new people being in this 4-by-6 block area. This is not a deep or large area, very small. And now we're crossing the river to the Hip Strip. The Hip Strip is a 120-year-old integral part of Missoula. It's the heart of Missoula. And so
Thank you for your
I
comments
ask
this
you
evening,
to
Ms. Dussault.
not
We're at
adopt
3 minutes.
this document and destroy what is the heart of Missoula.
Thank you, Ms. Dussault. Okay. Next up is Ellen Lauren, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Ellen Lauren. I am a lifelong resident of Ward 1. I grew up in the Rattlesnake, and I am now a chemistry student at the University of Montana. I am here as a Missoulian, a scientist, and a young adult who will live to see the full range of harms or benefits of policies decided here today and in the days that follow. I'm here to ask you to make 2026 the year that Missoula adopts an official organic land care policy and transitional timeline for all of our parks and playing fields. First, I'd like to thank you all for your service and welcome new council members and Park Director Marina Yoshioka. The new year is a time to assess what we care about and to set goals. I'm here tonight as one of many Missoulians who does not want toxic pesticides in our public spaces. Will everyone here in support of pesticide-free parks please stand or raise your hand? Thank you. We're here to demonstrate our community's concern for our health, posterity's health, and the environment's health. I call on you, our council, to make 2026 the year we commit to safe, healthy, pesticide-free land management. 2025 was one of the warmest years on record. We all notice our winters are changing. Pesticides, synthetic fertilizers, and petrochemicals are not only fueling climate change, they do not align with our values for our community and for our health. Missoula is a community that cares. Because you care about our community's health, our ecosystem, and moving away from fossil fuel products that exacerbate the climate crisis, you are in the lucky position to take action. In Silent Spring, Rachel Carson wrote, "We stand now where two roads diverge. The road we have long been traveling is deceptively easy, but at its end lies disaster. The other fork offers our last, our only chance to reach a destination that assures the preservation of the earth. I ask you to choose the road that preserves our health and our home. Please make 2026 the year that we establish a clear timeline to transition all city parks and playing fields to organic land care management." Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Lauren. Thanks for coming down. You bet. All right. And then we have Mike Langston, please. Mr. Langston, come on up. You can adjust that microphone to make it a little more comfortable.
Sound a little taller. Just a quick question. I'm Mike Langston. I live in the Pines Addition up Garrett, and there's been a proposition to change the zoning to allow a radio station at the top of Garrett.
Mr. Langston, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that is an agenda item.
Right,
and,
that's, you called me out.
so this is for items not on the agenda. So we'll just take your comment here in a few minutes when we get to that agenda item, okay?
Fair enough.
Excellent. All right. All right. This is a special section of the council because all of our items in which council especially takes action on and discusses has to be notified by state law. That's why public comment for items not on the agenda is a notified time on the agenda for such purpose. It's also why it's not a back and forth. People often wonder, if I ask questions at the mic, why don't they get answered? And that's because this is not, that particular comment wasn't notified to the public. All following state law, it's kind of quirky, it's kind of weird, but that is, that's what we must follow. So I'll get back to any other public comment for items that are not on the agenda. We do have about 10 minutes left of this section. If anybody here wishing to make comment for items not on the agenda, come on up.
Hi, I'm Katie Thompson. I do want to express my appreciation for you guys being on the council. I guess since I've decided to be a more active citizen, I do realize you are just trying to keep track of just everything going on, and that this is just one development in everything you guys are looking at. That said, I am just kind of heartbroken over the process and deciding to be the citizens I wish all of us were doing, which is making yourself come to these meetings, reading things and being active, because if you're not happy with things, I think you have to speak up. Otherwise, you probably shouldn't complain about it. I've been really frustrated with the process. Like, I feel like you give us an opportunity to make comments, but we are not getting answers. As a group related to the Midtown Commons, we've sent emails and tried to consolidate our questions and concerns in emails. It's been crickets. I know this isn't the format to get answers, so that's another source of frustration. We express our concerns, and even related to the zoning, I went on, I'm looking, there's little bubbles related to where people live, and they've posted questions, and I didn't even realize until I clicked on many of them that they could get an answer back, and it was usually a yes or a no. The other ones weren't answered, and I'm just really expressing either the system's broken, or you guys aren't doing your job, or, I mean, as a citizen, I'm heartbroken because you guys have to realize that properties are the biggest asset most of us hold. You know, you're really affecting someone's quality of life, which I'm sure that will come up here in a minute, you know, the tower that's being proposed. So at any rate, please do a better job of answering us and making us part of the process. You use words like robust, citizen input, and it's just not happening. And I hate getting up here being so wound up and upset, but I don't know where to go with this. So our development, Midtown Commons, it is a publicly owned asset. I've actually been told to quit saying it from the head of the MRA, to quit saying I own it. I don't think I've said I own it. I've said we own it as citizens. And she actually told me, you need to quit saying that. That was at the park planning meeting. So that's quite the response from a leader in our community. And I really challenge you guys not to make our citizens feel like this, just like you wish we would go away. It's a terrible feeling. And my kiddo's here, I'm so proud of him. He's working at citizenship in the community. And I hope he is impressed and not disappointed being here today.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. All right, next public comment, come on up.
Good evening, everyone. Hi, my name is Jeremy Drake. I live in Ward 5. I hope you all had a great holiday and welcome to the new members of council. I'm here to talk a little bit about the Ogren Park artificial turf versus natural grass discussion that started last year. I love baseball. I think probably most Missoulians love baseball, but Missoulians are understandably concerned about replacing the existing natural grass ball field at Ogren Park with artificial turf. Emerging research shows PFAS, known as forever chemicals, and other toxic chemicals found in artificial turf would likely end up in Missoula's sole source aquifer, the Clark Fork River, and the land surrounding Ogren Park due to microplastic particles shedding from artificial turf blades and infill materials migrating off-site. Artificial turf also creates large heat islands. It suffocates underlying soils. It's not realistically recyclable. We know a lot more about the health and environmental impacts of these synthetic surfaces than we did 10 years ago. And so let's use what we know now to make healthy choices for our community and our collective future. Natural grass supports community health, environmental stewardship, and Missoula's values. And so I want to invite you all to an event this Saturday at Free Cycles from noon to 3 called Missoulians for Natural Grass Open House, where you can connect with residents who are interested in this topic, learn about what's on their minds, and learn about the issues that are of concern to them around this issue of natural grass versus artificial turf. Free Cycles this Saturday, noon to 3. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Drake. All right, any other members of the audience wishing to make public comment for items not on the agenda? I'm not seeing anybody here in the audience. Let me check online to see if there's anybody online wishing to make public comment on items not on the agenda. Not seeing any hands raised online. Okay. Thank you all very much. That wraps up our public comment on items not on the agenda. Take that off. All righty. I'm going to go ahead and move on to item number 6, which is our public hearing section of our agenda. State law and city council rules set guidelines for inviting community comment in a formal way on certain issues. Following a staff report on each item, the city council and the mayor invite community comment. City council holds a public hearing on the item, a member of council makes a motion, and a vote is taken. The public hearing and vote take place on the same night unless there is a reason to hold the vote over to a later meeting date. So item 6.1 this evening is the conditional use request for wireless communication facility at 5425 Garrett Street. And we have staff member Zoe Walters here to provide the staff report. Now, Zoe, we see the screen, but we do not hear your voice. Is this correct? Nobody else is hearing? Yep. I'm going to give it a second here. Claire, I see you're highlighted, but I don't hear your voice. Yeah, that's a good thought. Zoe, just so you know, and members of the public that are online, we're just troubleshooting on this side for a moment here.
Nope.
Ay, ay, ay. We heard some static on a microphone somewhere. Hopefully that wasn't one of us. Ah. Okay, we're on hold. Sorry, folks.
Test, test, this is Claire.
Woo! We hear you, Claire.
Okay, Zoe, can you try again? Yeah. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, Zoe, we can hear
Awesome.
you. Yeah.
All right, I'll go ahead and get started then.
Sorry, not to be really obnoxious, but is there any way they can be turned down just a little bit?
We're dialing it in. How's that sound? Is that better? Let's try it. Zoe, why don't you go ahead and start?
Okay. Hi, good evening. Can everyone hear
That's
me?
great. We can.
Okay.
Is that audio okay? Folks can hear it? Okay. All
Okay,
right.
I'll get started.
Thanks, Zoe. Appreciate it.
All right, Zoe Walters, Associate Planner in Community Planning, Development, and Innovation, and Development Services, has received a conditional use request from Frank Boddicker Jr. and Tom Lamons of the Lighthouse Baptist Church for a ground-mounted wireless communication facility, specifically a radio tower, to be located at the property of 5425 Garrett Street. And today's presentation is for public hearing and final consideration. Conditional use is a use that requires case-by-case review to determine if it is appropriate given the context of the site and request. City Council is authorized to review and take action to approve with modifications or conditions, or deny the conditional use based on the review criteria of Title 20 and with regard to public and agency comment. Conditional use applications may be approved by council only when they determine that the review criteria, as applicable, has been satisfied. All of the applicable review criteria must be addressed in council's findings of fact and in support of their decision. Uses that require conditional use approval may be approved by council when they determine that the proposed use is, one, in the interest of the public convenience and will not have significant adverse impact on the neighborhood or community. Two, will not impede the orderly development and improvement of the surrounding properties for uses permitted in that district. Three, has operating characteristics that are compatible with the surrounding area in terms of hours of operation, outdoor lighting, noise, and traffic generation. And four, will not have a significant adverse impact on traffic safety or comfort, including all modes of transport. 5, is in accordance with the land use plan and other relevant adopted plans. 6, that the site properly addresses open space, light, and protection of natural features. And 7, the uses are compatible with adjacent properties and uses in terms of physical elements such as open space design, screening and buffering, and any applicable use-specific standards or other elements considered important by the City Council. So tonight we are looking at a radio tower, which is classified in Title 20 as a wireless communication facility. And this use is defined as a facility related to the use of the radio frequency spectrum for the purposes of transmitting or receiving radio signals. It may include, but is not limited to, radio towers, television towers, telephone exchanges, microwave relay towers, telephone transmission equipment buildings, commercial mobile radio service for facilities, or other personal wireless. This use category includes all associated equipment, and associated equipment may include, but is not limited to, antenna, equipment shelter or platform, lighting, monopole tower, mounting hardware, supporting electrical or mechanical equipment, access road, and guy system. So the subject property is located at 5425 Garrett Street, just north of 55th Street. The subject property is zoned R8 residential, and per Title 20, a ground-mounted wireless communication facility use requires conditional use approval to operate in the R8 zoning district. Parcels to the south and east of the subject property are zoned R8 residential. Parcels to the north are unzoned, and parcels to the west are outside of city limits and zoned R residential within Missoula County. The surrounding uses are all single detached residential houses. The R Missoula 2045 land use plan is the current applicable plan for guiding future growth. The place type for the subject property is limited urban residential, which covers areas typically along city outskirts or near development constraints. This place type is primarily intended for single-family houses and duplexes, offering a moderate variety of housing options in quieter, low-transit areas while maintaining access to local amenities and connections to more urbanized areas by car or bike. The current R8 zoning is considered a comparable district, Title 20 district for this place type. The intent of this special review is to determine whether the particular design and operational characteristics of the use will be compatible with surrounding uses and development patterns. In addition to conditional use review, any permitted or conditionally approved use is subject to specific code sections listed in the allowed uses table. As shown in the table, wireless communication facilities are subject to use in specific building standards in section 2040-160. Within the wireless communication facility use and building specific standards, applicability section 2040-160 B1D exempts radio towers from this section and development standards. Therefore, the proposed ground-mounted radio tower is not subject to the development standards schedule of section 2040-160 F3, including structure height, antenna height, setbacks, or landscaping, buffering, and screening. Here are the existing site conditions. The subject property contains one existing structure used for religious assembly, the Lighthouse Baptist Church, and 71 parking spaces. The subject property has frontage on Garrett Street and Rufus Road. Here's the proposed site plan. The proposed radio tower conditional use, along with the associated transmitter shed, vehicle barriers, and fencing are proposed to be located in the southwest corner of the parcel. The future building addition, or a future building addition, is proposed on the north side of the existing church and will incorporate a gymnasium as part of the church facility. Compliance with the zoning and all other applicable city codes will be determined at the time of building permit submittal. And no new buildings are proposed for the radio tower conditional use portion. Again, section 2040-160 B1D exempts radio towers from use in building specific standards for wireless communication facilities. The radio tower is proposed at approximately 33 feet from the west side interior property line and 38.5 feet from the south side interior property line. A 6-foot chain link fence is proposed to be installed around the tower and equipment shelter to prevent any unauthorized access. Vehicle barriers are proposed to be installed to protect the radio tower from any potential collisions within the church parking lot. The radio tower is proposed at 80 feet in height with a 4-foot antenna. The structure is 2 feet in width. Section 20-110-60 B1A states antennas are a height exception and are not counted in the measurement of building height. Table 2060-1 provides the required parking ratio for each use classification. Wireless communication facility uses do not have a parking requirement. Therefore, no parking spaces are required for the proposed conditional use. The existing religious assembly use requires 41 parking spaces, which will be retained. So in revisiting the conditional use review criteria, staff conclude that the proposed radio tower use is in the interest of public convenience and will not have a significant adverse impact on the neighborhood or community. The proposed use's primary purposes will include community broadcasting, offering tailored programming and content to Missoula, providing communication capabilities during outages of commercial power or wireless systems, and backup power capabilities. The proposed use will be able to broadcast to the majority of the city of Missoula with a Federal Communications Commission license coverage radius of approximately 3.5 miles in most directions, which will increase public convenience. The proposed use will be located in the southwest corner of the district property, maintaining adequate distances from property lines and rights of way. The Federal Communications Commission confirms that the facility complies with federal technical and safety standards. Two, the proposed radio tower use will not impede the orderly development and improvement of the surrounding properties for uses permitted in the district. The construction of the proposed ground-mounted structure will not have an adverse effect on the design, scale, or development of other structures in the area. The placement in the southwest corner positions the tower from existing nearby homes and rights of way while remaining on the subject property. Wireless communication facility use is required to comply with all applicable Title 20 regulations. Compliance with zoning, engineering, fire, and building code will be confirmed prior to building permit approval per the recommended condition of approval. 3, the proposed radio tower use has operating characteristics that are compatible with the surrounding area in terms of hours of operation, outdoor lighting, noise, and traffic generation. The proposed use will operate with no impact related to hours of operation. Church staff will periodically check on the facility during regular business hours. The proposed use will not require or need additional outdoor lighting. Existing lighting on site is sufficient. The proposed radio tower has operating characteristics that are compatible with the surrounding area with no increase in noise. A 100-watt transmitter, 5,000 BTU air conditioner, and low-velocity cooling fan will be contained within an equipment enclosure. The air conditioner has a noise level of 55 dBA, which is considered relatively quiet, quieter than typical conversation, and generally inaudible at a short distance outdoors. No excessive noise is anticipated from the property. The proposed use will not generate additional traffic to or from the property, as the facility operates passively and requires no additional staff. 4, the proposed radio tower use will not have a significant adverse impact on traffic safety or comfort, including all modes of transport, and will be functional and safe in terms of pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicular access, parking, loading, and servicing. The proposed use will not generate additional traffic to or from the property, as the facility operates passively and requires no additional staff. Vehicle barriers will be installed to protect the radio tower from potential collisions within the church parking lot. A 6-foot chain link fence will be installed around the tower and equipment shelter to prevent unauthorized access, and the equipment shelter will be securely locked as an additional safety measure. The radio tower will be located in the southwest corner of the parcel, placing it the furthest possible distance from Garrett Street and Rufus Road. 5, the proposed radio tower use is in accordance with the land use plan and other relevant adopted plans. The proposed wireless communication facility is in accordance with the land use plan, as the use is a low-impact, low-intensity use that does not generate traffic, noise, or emissions, which aligns with the residential character of the limited urban residential place type. The limited urban residential place type includes neighborhoods that are near environmental constraints or hazards that influence how these areas can develop and grow. The parcels surrounding the subject property contain unbuildable sloped areas where other types of development would be limited. Locating a radio tower in this location would avoid placement in denser developed cores. 6, the site properly addresses open space, light, and protection of natural features. The construction and installation of the radio tower will not affect existing natural features or existing landscaping on the property. The proposed radio tower will be located in the southwest corner of the parcel, maintaining adequate distances from property lines and rights of way. Facility has a minimal structural footprint and limited operational characteristics, ensuring that it does not diminish usable outdoor space. No additional lighting is proposed for the facility, and therefore it will not generate any light pollution or glare impacting adjacent properties. And there are no significant natural features on or near the subject property. And lastly, 7, the proposed radio tower use is compatible with adjacent properties and uses in terms of physical elements. The proposed use is a low-impact, low-intensity use that does not generate traffic, noise, or emissions, which aligns with the residential character of the limited urban residential place type. The proposed radio tower has a minimal structural footprint and limited operational characteristics, and therefore can be accommodated within the medium to large setbacks of the place type. The proposed wireless communication facility will comply with all applicable Title 20 standards per the recommended condition of approval. And the proposed use is compatible with adjacent properties and uses in terms of physical elements such as open space design, screening and buffering, and the use-specific standards. And with that, staff recommend approval of the wireless communication facility conditional use request located at 5425 Garrett Street in accordance with Missoula City Zoning Ordinance, Title 20, Sections 2005, 20D, 2040, 160, 2085, 70, and 2105, 60E, based on the findings of fact in the staff report and subject to one condition of approval. The one condition of approval is the wireless communication facility conditional use at 5425 Garrett Street shall comply with all applicable portions of the Title 20 Zoning Ordinance. Plans submitted at the time of building permit application shall substantially conform to the plan submitted at the time of conditional use review, subject to review and approval by Development Services prior to building permit approval. And that concludes my presentation. Again, this item is for final consideration and requires a vote from council tonight. Staff and the applicant are available for questions, and I believe the applicant is in the room and would like to, if possible, prevent some slides with images and videos for council.
Okay, Zoe, thank you for your staff report. Do we have the applicant in the audience this evening? Come on up. And did you wish to provide slides as part of a presentation? Was this?
Yes, ma'am, we will. Frank will take care of the technical aspect of it.
Okay, excellent. I'm gonna look to folks that might be able to help. Have you connected already in advance? Okay, great. So you've joined the meeting through Teams. Okay, excellent. All right, so we need to make sure Frank is on as a presenter. We're looking for you here real quick before we get started.
Yeah, he's been promoted.
Wonderful. Okay, you've been promoted as presenter, so you should be able to go ahead and share your screen.
Just want to take a moment. I'm Tom Lamons, pastor of Lighthouse Baptist Church. I also want to thank our neighbors, whether they're for this or it's not something they want to see happen. I want to thank them for being here as well. I want to thank you all for your time and consideration. Frank is going to present the material. I do want to just remind folks that this is a low power FM station. This is not something that you would normally see when you see a radio tower or station. This will be mainly, except for a few live broadcasts we do, it will be automated, so it's not going to require people coming, at all hours of the day or the evening. So with that, I will let Frank show the slides.
Okay, thank you, Pastor. No.
Greeting, council. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to present this for you guys. I did take some video of the property from all four corners so you could see what our property looks like, and then from the vantage point of our neighbors and what they would see as well. So hopefully these videos will have some sound when it comes through here, because I know sound's been an issue tonight.
Yeah, I hope so too. Looks like your microphone might be muted. If you unmute your microphone, it might come through. Let's see. Do we want to do that? I'm not sure if that's. Okay. Quick pause here.
Okay.
Audio, yeah.
Okay. Oh, and that was bad. Okay. Thank you. Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Claire. Get your steps in tonight.
So this video should show you where our pad, we already have a foundation poured and has been inspected by the city. So this is where the current foundation for the tower is at. No audio yet, huh?
And we're not hearing any
I
sound.
can turn audio up on the laptop and maybe it can come through.
try
on the
it.
sound. Okay. So I'm standing here in the center of the foundation of the
We'll
tower.
be back, but we can hear you.
As you can see, there's some tall trees over there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, let me turn the microphone. Thank you.
Neighbors over here are blocked already by mute my mic. Okay. A shed, some trees. Then there's tall trees over here that we need to get coverage above and get out. And it's also blocking the view. And then we have our building, our current building, whereas at a higher elevation, this ramps up in elevation. We're hoping to add a gymnasium on this side, which will come this direction. So it's going to make an L. And so the gymnasium is going to pretty much cover up those trees there. And there you are looking towards Garrett. So that building is at least 30 feet tall. And then you can see there's a tree above the roof there. And then we have this open space over here towards Garrett. Housing is looking, it's not looking this direction. There isn't any windows that are in this direction, particularly like on that side of the house and that side of the house. So there isn't windows looking this way. It's one reason why we chose this spot. Come over here. We do have a neighbor right here that does have some windows looking down Garrett Street, looking up Garrett Street. Again, then there's another neighbor over there which has a small window right there. But there's still, those houses right there are not blocked by the view. You can see here's the view right here. This is the beautiful view of the valley. And another reason why we put it here, as you can see, foundation, is it has a background of trees right here. So there isn't any housing down there that's looking this direction, that has windows looking this direction. There's a house right there, but there's windows that direction and that direction, and one little window this way. But these trees right here are going to hide the view of this tower. And if we look downwards, you can see that the neighbor down there, their windows are blocked by a shed from this lot. And then there's some tall trees, very tall trees. Again, some tall trees right here. And then we come full circle. And we have a neighbor right behind us. Another reason why we moved over here is you can see their windows are still that direction and that direction. So they're still looking, they're able to look out and see the same scenery that they've seen before the tower was here. So the reason for the height is get up above these trees, get up above our building, get up above our future expansion of a gym. That's even a higher elevation up there. And those trees, obviously we're not going to be able to get above that mountain there, but then we have these trees over here and then the landscape that direction. So it's a reason why we put it at that height, so we could get out as far as we can. We did have the tower down there on the other side of that shed because it was more convenient for us. And if we did do an expansion, but the problem is if the tower's down there when we were originally approved and for our first permit, if the tower's over there, then all the neighbors along that side would be right in their windows, So we decided to move it over here. Takes out 2 parking spots. Going to take out 2 parking spots here. So we lose 2 parking spots for our expansion, but we figured this was best because it's out of any direct windows looking this direction from our neighbors. And it's hidden by, there's the view, everybody loves this view, but we have some trees right here. And we have our current building that's going to block a lot of that. In our next video, this is going to show you walking along Garrett Street. So people who are along Garrett Street, what their view would be of this.
Okay.
All right, so here's another view. I went to the top corner of our property up by Garrett Street. The tower is down in that area right there. So if we walk this direction, You can see where that orange is at down there. So there's quite a bit of a slope from the property from here down there, but you can see the trees. There's trees in the background that's going to help conceal the tower if you're looking directly that direction. You have this wide open view right here that the tower is not going to impede upon. I'm on Garrett Street right now, looking from Garrett Street, and that's the beautiful view everybody loves. So there's no towers not impeding that. It's directly right there with these trees. And then we have our building. We go down here a little ways. As you can see, our building is going to conceal a lot of that view of the tower. So the elevation of that tower is much lower than the elevation of Garrett Street. And so the current building is going to block that. So we'll head down Garrett Street some more. And let's get to the other corner of our building. And this is like our first entrance of our building coming off of Garrett Street. And there's all those trees I talked about earlier. And our neighbors over there. Big tree right there. And as you can see, our building blocks that view. And it's also going to block a majority of that tower. The tower is just going to probably be a little peak right there. So let's continue down here and we'll go to the other point of our property. Our top corner here. Got some deer down there. Nice buck, actually. Okay. So I'm almost to the corner of our property. You can see over here by these neighbors. Got these row of trees. There's that shed I was showing you. And you can't even see the orange yet. There's some orange down there. Because you probably just start seeing the tower from this corner right here, just barely. But you see you got trees in the background. So let's make it all the way to the corner of our property. Okay. Corner of our property. There's our neighbors, there's a road. There's trees right there. You can see how it slopes. It's quite a bit of a slope. And basically back in that corner would be the tower, but it's also the view. See the buildings blocking part of the view from this angle. And then all the trees that are down there are also blocking some of the view. And the tower is going to be a thin pencil-like tower that you probably wouldn't even notice. It's just going to blend in with the scenery there. Just like a telephone pole. And just two more shorter videos.
How much longer do we have on these videos?
One is just like a viewpoint of neighbors there on the road.
Okay.
And then the last one was just showing the council how bad the first spot was that we got approved and why we wanted to move it.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
I can share those or just.
Go ahead, please proceed. It's just not optimal audio, which I know you
I
recognize.
know, sorry about that.
That's okay. I know. I appreciate you getting creative. Let's go ahead and see them.
All right, so I was gonna walk over there, but we got some deer. I don't want to disturb them, but I was up there on Garrett Street. There's Garrett Street up there. And I wanted to come down here to one of our neighbors. Their house actually is facing this direction. Their window's right there. See if I can zoom in just a little bit. And mainly the main windows of their house. And so they're seeing these trees, but they're also, their view is our building. So this is looking directly across from our neighbor here. And their view is basically this. This is their view. View of our building and view of some telephone poles there. There's some light poles that are owned by the city. And then you can see the tree line right there. I mean, this is directly out front of their house. Okay. And then there's some trees right there. And there's already a telephone pole, 2 poles here for lights. These are city lights. We don't own those poles or those lights, even though they're on our property.
We'll move on to the next.
At least that's what I've been told.
Okay. Sounds good.
And then this was a spot where we got our first permit for the tower. And then we realized it was not in a good spot. And so we moved it. And so maybe I'll just show the first part of it so you can see how it was impeding the current neighbors.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so this is our original spot where we were going to put the tower. As you see, we got some deer friends right here. So this is towards the opposite end of our property. The tower is going to be over there. But we have a permit. Our first permit that we got approved was put a tower right here. And as you can see, this is a really bad spot because that's that neighbor right there where their windows see our building. But you have this neighbor right here. You can see their main windows would be looking right at this property. And then they would drive down this road and looking right at this tower. And they drive down this road and see this tower. So we want to be good neighbors. First, there's tall trees right here. Okay, tall trees. That's a nice tall tree right there, actually. So we want to be good neighbors. And what we did is
So that kind of gives you, let me turn off my audio here. So that hopefully gives you a perspective of all 4 corners of our property and what we were thinking, why we reapplied for another building permit.
Okay.
And for the spot that it's in right now. Here's just some aerial views from 80 feet. So this summer we took a drone and went up 80 feet so you can see what that looks like. Our FCC license allows us to do, up, like Zoe said, up to 3.5 miles. So we obviously want to cover as much of that as we can. And so here's just some points around the property where we're trying to get above the trees here. The trees right now, during this photo, they have their leaves and stuff. Right now they don't. But when they have their leaves and their foliage, that can also impede the radio signal getting out. And then mainly towards the north of the property would be the toughest because those trees, we probably are right about the same height as those trees towards the north, as you can see there. And then this was just we tried to make an attempt to use Google Earth and a computerized image to show you what the tower might look like with this, but it didn't turn out as well as I was hoping it would be. But
Yeah, we assume the building is in better shape than what it looks like
it
right
is,
there.
yeah, and the vehicles around there, yes. So we did ask our engineer, like, okay, if we're asked to lower it from 80 to 40, what would happen? And so the engineering group that we're working with said that with the software that they have to run with the terrain, that going from 80 to 40 feet would lower our dB, the range we could get out from 3 dB down to 3 dB to 8 dB. And so it would greatly hamper our ability to try and cover that 3.5 mile radius that we're allowed to with our federal or for the FCC permit. And it would get us down below the trees with all the leaves and then bushes with their leaves. It would greatly hamper our ability to be able to get out and have our radio station be able to reach its maximum potential. So that's why they came up with that height. This will go forward here. So we also just wanted to point out to the council, we want to be good neighbors. So being part of a good neighbor is not just saying that, it's actually your actions that you take. And so we went through the permitting process in good faith. We started at the FCC level, the federal level, went through their process. They approved us an FCC license. As soon as they approved us an FCC license, that's when we invested money in buying a radio equipment. And then now we need to get that antenna up and be able to get that radio station working. So you have to have a tower. And so we went through we didn't buy anything yet. We went through the permitting process for the Missoula permitting process for building permitting process to get a tower. We went through all that and got approved. As you said, we went to actually build the foundation and we're like, wow, this is not a good spot. So that's why we went back to the city and said, hey, we want to move this. And the city said, well, you got to go back through the permitting process. So we went back through the permitting process, went through the questioning there, went through all the different departments that you have to go through for that, was issued a second building permit. And so when we got the first building permit, that's when we bought the tower. We invested money. So, and we used, following the process we did in good faith. And that's when we spent the money to buy the tower and line up a contractor. So when we got the second permit done, since we already had the tower already had the tower bought, we already had a contractor lined up. The contractor came out and did the foundational work. The city did come in and did their first inspection on the foundation. They approved the foundation. And then we were told about this conditional permit process. So we worked with the city on this, answered all their questions as been outlined. And but we just wanted to, let the council know we tried to follow all the processes, and we only bought things and acted upon things once we got approval for different areas. So tower equipment was purchased, foundation was poured after we got our certain approvals. We didn't go out and buy all this stuff and just be like, we're going to put a tower up. So just to reiterate, I think Zoe did a really good job on that, but just to reiterate all the different concerns that the city had and how we had to answer them. And she's already outlined that. So this slide's not really needed, but I didn't know how the format was going to go. And then again, the city, the different departments of the city didn't have any problems with our building permit or proposed placing of the tower. So I was just highlighting there. That's also in the report. So we just respectfully ask the city council to please approve a radio tower. It's going to be a radio station that has some uplifting message to be available for the city. And we've done everything, followed the process, and got approved for various steps. And here we are with the conditional permit. So any questions or anything I can clarify?
Appreciate that very much. Thank you, Frank. What we'll do is we'll do questions from council now. So I appreciate you both making yourselves available, as well as staff members, Zoe, and I also know we have our city attorney here, Ryan Sudbury, for additional questions. So we'll bring it to the council for questions. Any questions from council this evening? Go ahead and raise your hand if you can. That helps me manage on screen here on the team. So Councilor Campbell, please go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This question I think is for Ryan. There were some concerns that were brought up from staff at the city attorney's office when this was in committee in December. And had to do, generally speaking, as best I could recall, some precedent at the federal level with regards to religious groups, religious organizations, First Amendment, what have you, and how something like this could apply to those laws or precedents that were set. And have you had a chance to do any research in that area?
Yeah, Ryan Sudbury with the city attorney's office. Staff member and I in our office looked into this, and there are issues with respect to land use control burdening religious institutions. And I can kind of lay out the rules for you and give you a brief outline, but I can't give you a clear answer on, if city council wanted to deny this or issue the permit with some restrictive conditions on it, how that would play out in court. There's no case that's directly on point that's similar to this. It's a very fact-intensive finding with respect to are there available alternatives for religious institutions. But effectively, or at its core, this involves the Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act and the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, two acts passed by Congress to, well, frankly, really to try and rein in local governments and imposing onerous restrictions or, in the words of some congressmen who supported it, oppressive restrictions on locating churches and church facilities within their municipalities or within their jurisdiction. And so the rule effectively is that if a local government imposes a substantial burden on their religious exercise, then the local government has to prove that the regulation is the least restrictive means of furthering a compelling government interest. For anybody who's studied constitutional law for any period of time, that least restrictive means of furthering a compelling government interest is also referred to as strict scrutiny standard for constitutional violations, which is the highest threshold. So in looking at the case law on this subject, if you are found to have imposed a substantial burden on the religious exercise of the institution, you're kind of sunk at that point. So the question becomes whether the land use control is a substantial burden. A lot of the cases in this area are focused on the construction of a church or expansion of a church or operation of a particular facility at a church. There's a couple cases involving homeless shelters operating in a church that were denied. But most of the cases are with respect to either constructing a church or enlarging the size of a church. And those cases come down on both sides. In instances where there's plenty of other alternative opportunities for a church to locate within the city, and it's just that their most favorable location is in an area where they're not allowed to locate. The courts have found that that's probably not a substantial burden. That's just an inconvenience to the church. The courts have said that where the regulation imposes a substantial delay, uncertainty, or expense, that may indicate that you're getting into the substantial burden territory. So, again, focusing on the facts here, I can't really say whether there are alternatives available to the church, broadcasting over the internet or co-locating with another radio facility that's already constructed, or constructing a tower in another area, another part of town that may not be in such a residential area. If something like that would make this a court determine that this is not a substantial burden, it's just a mere inconvenience, like some of those cases. It's possible, but you're certainly in the gray area of this law, and denying this permit could lead to a lawsuit where the religious institution argues that this is a substantial burden on their religious practices, that evangelizing the gospel through this radio tower is an essential element of their religion, and there's no other alternatives. It would be too expensive or costly for them to locate elsewhere, or there's no other facilities, and they've investigated that. We would be at risk of losing that lawsuit if the facts came down that way.
Thank you. Follow up, if I may?
Sure, you bet.
So in this particular case, they're in a zone that permits this sort of structure, going through this process, as opposed to, they're in some other hypothetical, other commercial, or other zone where maybe there could be more open space, or there could be possible restriction on this. Being that this is, generally speaking, we're seeing a request for approval within the zone that permits this activity. Generally speaking, does that kind of stack the deck against the government, so to speak, to then deny something like this if our own land use and zoning says that, well, this is a permitted use to begin with?
I don't know if I would go that far. I mean, it's a conditional use, so it's not just allowed. If it was allowed by right, obviously, we wouldn't be here. So the fact that it's conditional use and city council needs to look at the facts to determine whether this is an appropriate installation in this area, I think lends credence to the fact that you need to look at the facts on the ground. I would suggest that if folks are considering voting against this, they should identify the facts that are at issue that are problematic. And I would say that our research has determined that frequently courts believe that aesthetic concerns or incompatibility from a view shed or aesthetic concerns are not compelling government interests. So if you get into that, if you trip into this is substantial burden, is this the least restrictive mean to accomplish a compelling government interest? Protecting view sheds or aesthetics is probably not something you want to focus on, and I would focus something more on safety, 80-foot tower, 35 feet from the property line. I mean, I think you could make a compelling safety issue there. There's been discussion about sound and noise not being an issue to the extent that there are facts that are otherwise. Something that's associated with public health and safety could be considered a compelling interest. And that would be important for council members who are thinking about voting no to identify in their comments, I would say. Because what I would say, I wouldn't agree that it stacks the deck against the government, but we're certainly, because of the Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Person Act, certainly in an uphill battle to justify our regulation in this instance, whereas in most land use cases, the bar for reasonability of a land use regulation is very low. In this case, it's kind of the opposite. So it is a high bar, but I don't know if I'd say the deck was stacked against necessarily.
Thank you. One more question, if I may, for the applicant.
You bet. For
just-
the applicants, yeah?
Just if you could state your reasoning once again. I know this was brought up in committee, but the idea of co-location of a transmission tower, that seemed like, at least to me, a reasonable alternative. But if you could highlight, to what extent you explored that and why you opted not to go that route.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question. Well, first of all, the property where we're at is on a hill. So it's, that's a good location. And from the studies they did, as far as co-location, this is a low-power FM station. We're not out advertising in businesses to get their support. Anybody that would donate towards it, you're talking, pennies on the dollar. And what we've looked at is communities like ours to rent a tower in the feet. It'd be about normally around $1,100 to $2,000 just to put your equipment on that tower wherever it's at. Of course, we would still need to do something where we're at to project it there. And then, of course, you have to have availability and permission. And just the phone calls I've made, nobody was real anxious to do that. They didn't rule it out, but that wasn't something they were looking at considering at this time. Did that help?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Councilor McCoy.
Thank you, Mayor Davis. This is a question for the applicant as well. Within our public comment that we've received, there was a question about why in our modern times would you choose a radio tower over perhaps podcasting or streaming online. So I was curious if you could maybe address that question.
Yes, sir. That's a great question. Well, it's our job. As a church, our responsibility is to get the good news, the gospel to as many people through as many mediums and vehicles as we can. Our church does online and streaming for our services, but somebody that's interested would have to find our website. But with a radio station, we'll be able to encourage people 24/7. We have some great Christmas music, those types of things. But there'll be people who are driving in their car who will be able to tune into there in town and be able to hear the gospel about what Christ has done for them. And that's our job. I moved here in 1997, not to build an empire. My job was to tell people about Jesus, and I want to get heaven full. And this is just another opportunity for us to do that. Did that help?
Yeah, and maybe if I could just follow up a
Sure.
little bit.
Yes, sir.
Were you guys able to look into podcasting or, like as the newest, biggest form of like outreach to people? Was that something that you guys evaluated?
No, sir, we did not.
Fair enough, fair enough. It's a big hurdle to get over.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Okay, absolutely, you bet. Any other questions from council this evening? For the applicant or for staff? Did you have one other thing you'd like to add? Okay, all right, come on up, Frank.
I was just going to say about the podcasting, because I'm obviously very big into that, and, younger generation. But we still have the older generation and people who just, that's not their means. They still do radio, and if it wasn't viable, we wouldn't have commercial radio stations in Missoula and around the nation. So people still consume that form of media. So it's just another way of getting out there and communicating with people we otherwise would miss with podcasting and streaming and stuff.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, it looks like we do have a couple more questions, or at least from one, Councillor Ponton.
Thanks, Mayor Davis. Question for Mr. Sudbury, if I may. Sort of tangentially related to your last answer. I'm wondering if after 2 permits have been approved, if we'd be opening ourselves up to any potential risk for denying a conditional use permit later on after the fact, since the applicants have already purchased items in relation to this project after the city's approval.
Certainly not great. It would be a mark against the city probably in, a factual case about how we've moved this, how this process is developed. And I think, we could explain the things that have come up along the way and why this is in this sort of procedural posture. But in situations where frequently either juries or judges are looking at a totality of the facts, something like that is not ideal, certainly.
Thank you.
Yep, you bet, absolutely. Any additional questions from council before we go to public comment? Before we hear the main motion and go to public comment? All right, I'm not seeing any. Of course, there's an opportunity for council to ask questions after public comment, so we'll hear the main motion first from Land Use and Planning Chair Mike Nugent.
Thank you, Mayor Davis. The recommended motion from the staff recommendation is City Council approve the wireless communication facility conditional use request located at 5425 Garrett Street in accordance with the Missoula City Zoning Ordinance Title 20, Sections 20.05.020.d, 20.40.160, 20.85.070, and 20.105.060.e, based on the findings of fact in the staff report and subject to one condition of approval.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Nugent. This opens up the public hearing and motions on the floor and opportunity for public comment on this agenda item. We allow 3 minutes per public comment. I'll help you keep track with the time device up here. So whoever wishes to make public comment on this agenda item, please come on up.
I was here before. I'm Mike Langston. I'm a 30-year resident of Pines Addition up Garrett. Properties they showed on that slide, one of them was mine. This kind of got sprung on us, and I'm on the HOA for Pines Addition. I'm representing the 25 residents there. We're firmly against this. We're a residential area. And having a tower in the back, they show you a view, 80 feet. This is maybe 40. Let's go another 40 up. The view they gave you is not the view we're going to see from our back decks and our windows. We're going to see a tower up there, and they have to have a light on top of that because it's 80 feet. And that light has to be blinking so the planes don't hit it, or helicopters, or light flight. So that's going to be going off all night long. They also attract electricity. And I know this because I worked in the fire industry. I also know this because I insured radio stations. Dean Stone gets hit 5 times on an average during a lightning storm. I know I replaced several of them. They knock out generators, and I've seen a lot of dead cows underneath radio towers because it spreads out. We also have natural gas lines down there. So it's also a safety concern on our part. Now, let me ask each one of you, would you like to have an 80-foot lightning rod put in your backyard? I don't think so. We had a tree hit just last summer, ponderosa pine. It's actually below my property by lightning. Came down, knocked out their power, knocked out the grid and half the blocks there. You're going to invite the devil to the dance? Put a tower up there. It's metal. It's going to come down. It's going to attract lightning. So I'm going to ask you right now, if it were you, what would you want in your backyard? I've lived there 30 years, and I don't want to see it. The reason we built there, because when we built originally, we went up to Miller Creek. You know all those towers up there carrying the power lines and such? We chose not to build there just because of those. We chose this spot because we don't have to deal with towers. We don't have to deal with businesses. You open this can of worms, now they got a radio station. Now what? What else? Are we going to have dispensaries coming up there? I'm saying, as a citizen of this city and my ward representatives, I'm asking you to vote against this. I lived there. I've lived there all my life. My kids were raised there. And I'm representing 25 other voices. And if you guys do vote to do this, then we'll see you in court, because we will ask to have an injunction put to stop this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Langston. Anyone else in the public wishing to make comment on this agenda item? Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Kurt McGrain. You've seen me a few times up here on this one before. So I just wanted to start off by saying, thank you for your time, and thank you for all the graphics and demonstrations that was provided tonight. I'd also like to reference my letter that was previously sent about how the proposal doesn't meet the conditional use requirements, and in particular, in regards to the Tanja Heights neighborhood, that is a newer neighborhood just to the south of the property. Would it be possible to pass out some graphics?
Yes, it would. There's an officer at the beginning of the room. Let me see if I can get, if you have a moment, officer, to go ahead and pass out some handouts here. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I think, what was maybe missed in Tom's presentation and in the staff report was the views from Tanja Point, which I'm a new resident there. I love it. I'm happy to be your neighbor. But we have 8 lots there. 2 of them are built on, and all of them are adjacent to that tower. And it's from the graphics that you'll see here. It'll be the first thing you see when you drive out your driveway in the morning, and it'll be the last thing you see when you go home. And I really appreciate how you designed it to be shielded as much as you can from Meadowlark and Rufus and Garrett, but I don't think you considered our neighborhood either to the south. And I think, it just looks like bare land right now, but there's going to be families there. My family lives there. I don't want my son climbing up that tower, or, the sound coming from that tower to be bothering us. So I guess the final thing I would say is, if you have to approve this based on legal reasons, maybe there are some conditions that you could put in place to increase the setbacks, or, take the same amount of consideration that you did for Rufus and Garrett, and make that consideration for Tanja Point as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McGrain. Appreciate your comments this evening. Anybody else in the audience wishing to make comment on this agenda item? Please come on up.
Hi, my name's Katie Thompson. Clearly, this isn't my issue, but I definitely can understand the concerns that neighbors have having something like this in their neighborhood. I think you could go with the thought that we're not silencing the pastor and his church. It sounds like there's other options available to rent tower wavelength, or I'm sorry, I don't know the correct terminology. So I think on that issue alone, I don't think we're impeding by not having him, have to have that tower. to feel or have the capability to reach, more people, which sounds like that's his goal. I think people do buy in a certain area of zoning with the intention that that is protected or that's what's allowed. That's why most developers have the covenants and things that we all have to live under so that it is kind of known what's going to happen there. So I do think you are under an obligation, like I said earlier. People's primary houses are their biggest asset. It's where your dreams are. It's what you work hardest for. It's what you hope to pass on. I just really don't think, and with all the modern technology, that we are stifling this pastor. I think there's plenty of argument to say that he can use maybe an existing facility if that's what's in his heart to take those means to go that route. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other members of the public wanting to make comment on this agenda item? Sure, come on up.
I listen and I understand it.
Please say your name for the record and speak into the microphone, please, so we can hear you. Joseph Hill Warner?
Yeah, I do attend Lighthouse Baptist Church.
There you go.
There we go. I do attend Lighthouse Baptist Church. I am not a member. Okay. Every day I drive around in Missoula. Okay. What do I see? Liquor stores, casinos, everything that goes against everything that actually Missoula should stand for. And they're allowed into the community. Okay. And also Brook Street, the adult store. My grandson says, oh, look at the costume shop. Okay. We have not just the imperfect people trying to do a righteous act. Something that our community truly is seriously lacking in a lot of areas. Okay. I have the privilege of working for the city of Missoula. Every day I deal with the homeless people, I deal with paratransits, disabled people, all that, and it's a privilege. It's an absolute privilege. We're talking about a 2-foot tower, that goes 80 feet. Ponderosa pine, 80 feet, okay? What harm is it going to really cause except for people thinking that the value truly lies in the world? And this is not how we look at things. There's so much more. There's grandmas sitting at home, can't get out. There's grandpas. It could be me one day. It could be you. All we'll have is radio. Podcasts, we're hitting a generation that doesn't understand what a podcast is right now. That's what this tower is intended to do, is to reach the people with the gospel of Christ, because in the end, when their kids aren't visiting, when their grandkids aren't visiting, when they aren't doing anything, guess who's visiting? The Lord. Now, I know that we have people from all kinds of different walks of life sitting on this council. People who are believers, people who are not. We all have a choice. But what we shouldn't be doing is trying to stop something that could actually promote something truly good in this community and reach out to generations who can't grab into the podcasts and can't wrap into those, because I don't understand podcasts, and I'm almost 57, and keep that from happening. We really should start thinking about core values, instead of aesthetic, something that aesthetic 2 feet
Thank you
tall.
for your comments this evening, Ms. Hill Warner. Appreciate it. Any other public comment on this agenda item? Yeah, take your time.
Hi, my name is Janet Crane. For me, podcast, again, you said podcast, you lost me on that one. But to me, this is very important when you're going down for however long. I don't know how far that would go, as far as the radio station, how far it would broadcast out. I don't know what that would regulate. But sometimes you need to hear that inspiration. Maybe you're having a rough day. Maybe you need that influence, even for a moment. I mean, I've had those days. I'm sure everybody has. But anyway, for me, I think it would be a good thing, and other people as well. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Ms. Crane. Any other members of the public wanting to make comment on this agenda item? Please come on up.
My name is Andy Crane. This is going to sound blunt and possibly hostile, and I don't mean it that way. But I don't think it's right that a HOA should be trying to dictate somebody else's property. I think that this would be a wonderful blessing towards the city. There's so many things that could be broadcast that are positive from this radio station. And from what I've seen, it's not going to be an enormous eyesore. It's just tall enough to get up above the trees. And I think that would be, I think the blessing far, far, far outweighs the slight impedance against somebody's view. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Crane, for your comments. Anyone else? Public comment on this agenda? Come on up.
I attend Lighthouse Baptist Church, and I'm the director of a faith-based recovery program. We meet every Friday night at 7 o'clock. They allow us to use their building to meet in, and the success rate of the program runs about 80 to 85%. I rented in Alaska for 20 years in Fairbanks, Alaska, and we was running from 70 to 80 people every Friday night. And the way we contacted Fairbanks was TV and radio to let them know that we were available. And so I'm saying that this radio station gives us another avenue to let some people know. The people that are hooked on different kinds of addictions, not every addiction don't disable people, but a lot of them do. And a lot of them don't have the facilities to see any more than what they can just hear. And so I would encourage it, because it would give us another avenue to let the town know that we're available. And it don't cost anybody to come to it. They can come and visit us, and then there's a curriculum that goes with it. And like I say, the success rate is around 80 to 85% of any kind of addiction. Don't make any difference. And we call addiction is anything I continue to do that I know that's bad for me. And so we work with people. And I've watched families put back together. I've seen families start loving their children, and on it goes. And I just want to say that it would just be another notch for us to be able to get to the community.
Thank you for your comments this evening. Anybody else in the audience wish to make public comment on this agenda item? Okay, I'm not seeing anybody. I'll check online, see if we have any members of the public that wish to make comment on this. Not seeing any hands raised from the public. Double checking here. Okay. Well, that will wrap up our public comment on this agenda item, and we'll bring it back to council discussion. That includes both questions and comments from City Council and Councilor Nugent.
Thank you, Mayor Davis. I have a couple of questions for staff and one for the applicant. So I guess I'll start with the applicant. Can you tell me how long that facility has been used as a church, whether it's your church or previous churches?
Well, I believe right around 1972, between 72 and 74 is when I believe it was built. It was it was not the first, but it was one of the first buildings up there, yes, sir.
And has it been your church that entire time?
No,
or-
sir. We purchased the building in 2004.
And-
Yes, sir. April of 2004. Yes, sir.
And since 2004, would you say you've been able to meet your mission as far as bringing your religious, spreading the word, as you said, to the community?
Meet my mission.
Yeah, I mean, have you been prevented by the government from from using the facility as a church?
No, not from using our facility as a church. My mission is never complete.
As I was asking it, I thought that's going to be the answer.
Yeah, right.
All right, I appreciate that. I have a few other questions for staff.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. My first one for staff is, what's the tallest building height allowable in their current zoning upstairs right now, or up there right now? Sorry, I'm looking this way for staff who's not here, so look into a camera. Yeah.
I see Zoe.
Zoe's,
came on.
yeah, Zoe will answer that.
Yeah, so in the R8 zoning district, the maximum height is 30 or 35 feet, depending on the roof pitch of the building.
And Zoe, this is my last question, and then I'll be done, Mayor. But this might be a tough question to answer, but if this wasn't a property that was currently being used as a religious assembly and it had been sold in 2004 to some other commercial owner, would the conditional use request or would the conditional use recommendation from staff be the same, or is it tied to the religious use?
It would be the same request. It's based on the ground-mounted wireless communication facility.
No, but would the recommended approval of the conditional use be the same? Like, are the
Right.
factors being considered tied to the
Yeah, I
current
believe that's a
use?
hypothetical question, but I think that if the same application was submitted, the review would have been the same.
Okay.
Okay, absolutely, you bet. Counselor Cheryl.
Yeah, thanks. I'm hoping someone can address if there is a higher lightning risk for the neighborhood based on having a tower there. I know we have towers in lots of different places, but I'm just hoping someone can address that safety concern.
Okay. Zoe, you want to take that first?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I had a little bit of noise in the room here. Couldn't quite hear it.
We had a public commenter that said something about an increased safety risk for lightning and having a tower there in the neighborhood, and I'm just hoping someone can address that issue.
I don't know that I can speak to public safety in terms of lightning or fire.
Do we have any other staff members on? I'm just scanning through the staff list. I'm not seeing anyone that I would know, but that would have that expertise. And Mr. Sudbury, I'm not sure if that's something that you feel compelled or able to speak to.
I could tell you what I see on Google right now, but no, I couldn't lend any professional input on it. It's outside of my area of expertise, certainly.
Okay, that's fair. Thank you. And Counselor Cheryl, any other questions? Okay, all right. Well, Counselor Jordan.
Yeah, thank you. Zoe, this question is for you, and it's kind of following on from Ms. Cheryl's question, and I have a feeling we are not going to have a response for it. But I'm curious why lightning potential and fires, or even the antenna falling over, like the whole thing just falling over and potentially hitting one of these homes nearby that are yet to be built. Do we consider any of that in our criteria for public safety as we review these types of things?
Yeah, so I believe that would be something probably from buildings review and fire reviewing these permits, and they did review the building permit submitted earlier this year, as well as the conditional use request, and we did not receive any concerns or commentary from them about that.
Okay. All right. So just to be clear, it's just like any standard rezone. You send out a request for response to any kind of eligible or relevant party, including our fire and other folks who did not see a problem with this particular structure being installed.
Yes, all applicable agencies were notified about the request and reviewed it, and I didn't receive any significant comment.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Okay, absolutely, you bet. Counselor Krosk?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to address the public comment that had to do with the lighting at the top of the tower. And the staff report says that the proposed tower height does not require any additional lighting or aviation painting per the FAA. And I just wanted to confirm that that is accurate as of this time.
Yeah, so that's the information that we received from the applicant. Yep, no additional lighting or painting on the tower. Frank, if you'd like to speak any further to that, I believe you're welcome to.
Yes, that's under the guidance of the SCC permit, and they do, at the 80-foot, they do not require lighting at the top of the tower or any type of special painting. So that's why we answered it that way.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Counselor Becerra?
Yeah, question for Zoe. Is agency review comment required as part of this review? I'm trying to get to whether the fire department had a chance to review this.
Yes, so when we receive requests that go to City Council, we send out notification of the application and what's being requested to all applicable agencies, and the fire department was one of the agencies, and they did not have comment or any concerns.
They denied to comment or had no comment?
They did not have any comment to provide,
Okay.
but they did, I guess if it is helpful at all, in the review of earlier building permits, they reviewed it.
And I have another question, if that's okay. We've heard about setbacks and, the request for, changing the setbacks or additional setbacks. Could you go over what that could look like? I mean, what kind of setbacks are we not in compliance with, and what would be required at this point if there was any changes?
So at this point in time, under Title 20, since the radio tower is exempt from all building standards, there are no required setbacks. But if we're talking under the future Unified Development Code, radio towers in residential districts are required to meet the setback that is the same. Setback is 100% of the structure height. So in this instance, 80 feet tall, they have to provide an 80-foot setback. And so that would be the minimum requirement. I did write a slide here of what that would look like, 80 feet from the south and west property lines. It's approximately right here. Does that help answer the question, or?
Yes, it does. So it would put it right in the middle of the parking lot, pretty much.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments from City Council members? Councilor McCoy?
Thank you, Mayor. This is for the applicant, and just following up with the last question. Was there any consideration on perhaps putting this tower like next to your building off of one of the corners, in any way? Or would that be feasible with the permits or the FCC's like guidelines?
As far as the permitting, I'm not sure. That would have to go back through the city. We chose that spot there. Originally, it was over towards Rufus, and we got over, the guy showed up to dig, and I'm like, we can't do this here. We got neighbors right there. So we moved it to the other side where there wasn't folks. There was huge yards and trees to the west of us. And then the south of us, part of it will be developed, and then southwest of us will not be developed, as far as, that's what we've been told anyway. And so we've not, we tried to get it away from our building, to have it out on that corner. We thought it was best when the guy came out and checked it out, the tower guy, engineer. So we have not talked about putting it next to the building. with an engineer. Did that help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments? Yeah, Counselor Nelson, please.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Question for the applicant. I think I missed the dollar amount and potentially the argument for why co-location was cost prohibitive. Could you just remind me how much it would cost and how impactful that would be to co-locate the tower in an area like Dean Stone where there are already existing tower infrastructure?
Right. The people that I've talked to thus far were not interested in leasing space or renting space at this time. They didn't say they wouldn't. They just said that was not something they were looking at this time. And then co-location, areas like ours, nobody would even give me an exact dollar amount what that would cost at this point. But areas like ours run anywhere from $1,100 to $2,000 a month to do that. And it's a low power FM station. We're not out trying to get so-and-so's construction company or restaurant to sponsor it to give them advertising time. It's, that's not normally what you do with a low power FM.
Sure. And just to follow up, how much, I guess I'm just curious, like how much time and effort went into determining site location viability? Like,
yeah, we had an architect look at it and they had an engineer look at it. We did that per city's request. And then we had a tower expert come out and he chose originally the spot where over by Rufus where we chose not to do it. And then he says, well, this would be your next best spot. So that's why we chose that area and put the foundation in. Yes, sir.
Councilor McCoy?
Thank you, Mayor Davis. For the public, it's important for me, for folks to have an understanding of my thoughts and where I'm coming from on a vote. And in reviewing this and laboring over this decision, I have kind of fallen back to some of my previous experience on planning board. And in a situation like this, what I have developed is to use a legal term, a need for a bright line, something that within the review criteria clearly stands out as an issue. And other than the possibility of perhaps it being a little too loud, which is not very clear, and maybe the lightning, but in my experience with low power radio, that has been less of an issue, although perhaps on this hill, you are correct, Mr. Langston, lightning could be an issue for sure. I have struggled to identify a bright line that gives me the ability to legally deny this request. Furthermore, no matter who the organization is, whether it's a church or whoever, I'm very hesitant to restrict someone's free speech. And that for me is a significant piece on top of my personal, commitments to my community, along with my just inability to find a bright line to help me clearly identify a legal path to say, no, this is not feasible. And in reviewing all the public comment, I hear what you guys are saying, and I understand how this is not something that you might want to have in your back door. And to your question about whether I want this in my back door, I'm not exactly sure that I would, but I also personally would not oppose it because of my personal beliefs around restricting free speech. And, like my experience with public radio and low power FM broadcasting has led me to be a fairly strong proponent of those things. And with those things in mind, I do believe I am in support of this conditional use permit.
Thank you, Councilor McCoy. Councilor Nugent.
Thank you, Mayor Davis. I appreciate all the comments. I appreciate the information people have emailed into us and that are attached to the agenda. And I appreciate the, I think, earnest conversation and heartfelt comments all around. I asked my questions kind of about how we would look at this if it was a commercial use, because in my mind, if this was a commercial use in the neighborhood, I would be a firm no. I would not be going for the conditional use, because I think the neighbor's argument is correct that they moved into the neighborhood to not have an 80-foot tower near them. So then I guess in my mind, I started asking if I'm holding a religious facility practicing actively to a lesser standard when it comes to land use and zoning than I would be those commercial uses. I don't agree with the argument that not allowing the tower would somehow prevent the ability to worship. I think that we've established by asking the questions that the church has been a location of worship for decades and decades, including the last 21 years by the current religious assembly, the church that's there currently. So to me, I just don't think that argument that somehow not allowing this is anything more than a decision of should we veer from what the standards of the neighborhood are for zoning. And I just think an 80-foot tall tower is not something that we are reasonably going to put in a neighborhood for almost any reason, including our new zoning code, which wouldn't allow this. I also think that if you look at the corner and the location, that is very close to lots that are already approved and will someday have houses on them owned by someone else next door. So I recognize the desire to continue to spread the word, and I completely support this church's right to try and find ways to do that. And again, would never step in and try and limit anybody's free speech. But I don't feel that this does this. I think that the request is asking us to approve something I would not otherwise approve. So those are my reasons to vote no, Counselor. And if you need more of them later, I can certainly email them.
Thank you, Councillor Nugent. Councillor Jones.
Thanks. I've been thinking a lot on the city attorney's comments at the beginning of the meeting, and it's just so much easier when things are clear cut, but this isn't one of those situations. There's criteria that we need to look to, and personally, first of all, I just want to preface this by saying I appreciate everyone coming down and in such a professional and courteous manner engaging with the city and with their neighbors on all sides on a hard issue. So we don't always see that in chambers. And first of all, I do want to thank everyone for really having a courteous attitude on all of this. Back to the city attorney's comments. First of all, for me, a view shed actually is a really high value, but I understand that legally that is not necessarily the most relevant criteria upon which to base our decision under the law as city attorney has researched it. And I feel like other folks have referenced that, but really the overriding issue for me, as referenced by the city attorney, was safety. And I have had property where trees have been hit by lightning. Trees are made of wood. This is a big, tall tower made of metal that will carry that electricity very differently than a tree. I am concerned about that. I wish there was more information in the record on it. I'm not seeing that, and I wish we had our fire chief here to speak to it, but at this point, I'm just not comfortable approving this in a neighborhood, so I will vote no, and I'll leave it at that. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for your comments, Councillor Jones. Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. So a number of concerns in the are in opposition to one another. You know, I too personally, you know, I'm a staunch supporter of free speech and particularly religious freedom. Religious free speech and ability to get out and, you know, freely have that freedom of expression for religious belief. And in listening to our city attorney, you know, speak to, you know, legal implications with, you know, perhaps in some, from a reasonable perspective, hindering a religious organization's ability to deliver a message or to communicate, possibly that could create issues. My concern along those lines is just looking at the political climate that frankly is there right now. I mean, realistically, I mean, at least, you know, certainly could make a case at the state level, certainly, but most certainly at the federal level, you know, the legislature, certainly the executive and Supreme Court are very staunchly behind safeguarding and upholding religious freedom and religious liberty. And there's no question about it. And they're willing to go down to, you know, very local level to, you know, ensure that those freedoms, as they see them, are upheld. On the other hand, though, I do have a practical concern about the possibility of lightning and fire danger. And it troubles me that that question hasn't been adequately addressed to be able to make an informed decision on this. And I would make a motion that this be returned to committee so that we could have those answers from competent folks, be it the fire department or, you know, someone from the university perhaps that could speak to, you know, that issue and, you know, address that very relevant practical concern.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Campbell. So there is a motion to return this to committee. And Councillor Jones, see your hands raised. We need to hear out is that no? All right. So there's a motion to return this item to committee. And we'll go ahead and hear from any council members now. Any questions about that before we take a vote on the motion to return to committee? Or does it automatically just get sent? Sorry. Committee's committee? Thank you. That's right.
Yeah,
We
without
return to committee
objection.
without objection. Sorry, it's been 2 weeks since we've had a meeting and I forgot the rules. All right, any objection to returning this to committee? I probably do. Do we need public comment on returning to committee?
No, not on procedural motions.
Procedural motion. Yeah, thank you for asking. I appreciate that. All right, any objection to returning this to committee? Okay, seeing none, then this item has been returned to committee. I don't believe we have a committee schedule, but all of that information is placed on the city council. Councilor Nugent.
We're not going to schedule this in land use and planning until after code reform is done. We don't have time to do it.
We have a very full January.
So it'll probably be after January 26th.
Thank you for.
If that changes anybody's opinions on.
Yep, thank you for
holding a
mentioning
committee
that.
Or not, just want to put that out there.
Let's give it a second here for that to resonate with folks in case you have any questions about that. Councilor Becerra?
There's no statutory deadline on condition, correct?
Statutory deadline on sending this back to committee?
Well, does this have to be either approved or denied per any deadlines?
I would probably refer to Zoe to see if she's aware of any.
Don't think there is,
These
but
don't come up very often. I can't think of any, but.
Okay, thank you. Zoe?
Well, I mean, there isn't a deadline, but I do believe, I mean, based on the conditional use process, you either have to, let's see, take action to approve the modifications or conditions, or deny. Does that include returning to committee? I don't know. Mary?
Hello, Mary McCrae with Development Services. There is no statutory deadline, so it can be returned to committee for a decision at a later date.
Thank you, Mary. Nugent.
We will get to it in committee as soon as we can. And I know that this process has been ongoing for you all. We'll do it as soon as we can.
Okay. All right, any additional, well, a question can be asked after, yeah. Thank you so much I appreciate your interest. All right, not seeing any objection, then this item will go for a vote to turn this, well, you can just turn it back to without objection. Yeah, we're good. Thank you. Item's been returned to committee. Thank you. Thank you all so much for coming down for the conversation. Additional questions, of course, may be submitted to your ward representatives or all city council, in case there's additional questions, but not during the hearing this evening. Thank you. Thanks for coming down. Again, I would like to repeat, thanks for all the courteous comments. And we'll see you back here at a later date. Okay. Boy, I'm rusty around the edges. 2 weeks. Woo. Okay. Folks, that wraps up our public hearing on item 6.1. So we'll next move to new business, agenda item number 7. 7.1 is the election of city council president. And Claire Trimble, we have you on here for the staff report and presentation.
Yeah, we have a council rule that states that for the first meeting in January following a municipal election, is the proper time to nominate a city council president and to assign council members to committees. We also have a council rule that asks people who are interested in being council president to submit their nomination to the clerk and their peers prior to that event. And all that has happened. So that is the next 3 items, 7.1, 7.2, 7.3 are establishing a nominating and voting on a council president, vice president, and assigning council members to their committees.
Okay, thank you very much for that coverage. So following council rules, it looks like we have nomination ahead of time in accordance with Council Rule 28B for nominating Mike Nugent as City Council President. I'll turn this over to existing City Council President Amber Sherrill, Councilor Sherrill.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate this, and I appreciate Mike's willingness and desire to step up. City Council President and Vice President, as well as the committee appointments, are 2-year terms. I would say I have loved serving with you, Mayor, and have appreciated my colleagues' support in doing that. But I'm also really excited that Mike wants to run. And I would say that I would like to support Mike in this because I feel like he has shown leadership in his time on council. He is LUP chair. He's been the LUP chair for I don't know how many years, a lot of years. He's been on the health board. He's on MRA. He has been instrumental in code reform, and I'm just really thankful for his leadership. So I'm doing it backwards. I realize, I'm sorry. So I would like to first recommend that we nominating Mike Nugent as City Council President for the next 2 years.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilor Sherrill, we do have a main motion on the floor. Is there any public comment on this motion? I'm not seeing any in the room. I'll check online here to see if we have any online. I'm not seeing any online either. Okay, so I'll go ahead and bring this back to council to see if there are any councilors that have any questions or any comments. And Councilor Sherrill, your hand is still raised, but was that from earlier?
That's from earlier.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Jordan.
So comments or questions?
Yes, back to,
Great.
Either way.
So I have some comments prepared that I'd like to have applied to both the president and vice president position. And so I'll just state them once, but they're my reasons for voting the way I'm voting. So I just want to have a brief explanation of my position. The roles of City Council President and Vice President carry significant responsibility, including the potential to serve as acting mayor. Leadership in these roles requires trust, fairness, and a commitment to open and respectful dialogue. As the Harvard Business Review often notes, effective leaders create space for diverse perspectives and help others do their best work, especially where there is disagreement. Based on my experience on council, I have concerns about whether those leadership qualities are being consistently demonstrated. I've observed approaches that feel more focused on managing outcomes and controlling narratives than encouraging open discussion, including the use of procedural tools such as points of order and rule changes, most notably Council Rule 21, that now limits individual councilors' abilities to bring items forward. I've also observed goalpost shifting, defamation, and misrepresentation of others' intentions. For these reasons, I cannot support these nominations, and this is for both president and vice president. I do hope, however, that we can continue working together to rebuild trust and foster more open, authentic dialogue moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Councillor Jordan. Councillor Jones.
Sure. My hand is doing the up and down thing, but but I'm still up for right now.
All right, great.
Great. I just want to provide comments. First of all, I wanted to thank Amber Sherrill for serving as president. It is a hard job. It's a constant uphill climb. There's no doubt about it. And I just wanted to thank you so much for all of the work that you have done. And Mike, I'm happy to support you. I think you work incredibly hard on council and lean in on so many issues and provide good input and good decision-making. And I think you work hard to hear all points of view. So I'm really happy to support you, and I think you'll be a good president.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Any additional questions or comments from City Council members? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Then, Ms. Trimble, we can do a roll call vote on the recommended motion.
All right, 1 second. Right. Voting on the nomination of Mike Nugent as City Council President. You guys are gonna have to help me with the roll call. Is Anderson present?
No, she's not. Absent this evening.
And Becerra?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Trask?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Jordan?
No.
McCoy?
Aye.
Nelson?
Yes.
Nugent?
Sure.
Ponton?
Yes.
Savage?
Yes.
And Cheryl?
Yes.
That's 10 in favor, 1 opposed.
Okay, thank you very much. Congratulations, Councillor Nugent. I'm looking forward to working with you in the capacity of Councilor President. And I have comments I'm going to reserve for my mayor's comments in a little bit here. Thank you. All right. We'll next move on to item 7.2, which is the election of City Council Vice President. Claire Trimble has already provided the staff report. I see that, Councilor Becerra, you have your hand raised. Is this motion going to be made by?
I would like to pass this motion to the vice president.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. So we've heard the staff report. We'll go ahead and hear the main motion, and then we'll open it up for public comment.
Thank you. Yes, I will nominate Jennifer Savage for the vice president of council position. I just want to say that I think Ms. Savage's communications background would be a really useful asset for council, as I believe these two positions, both the president and vice president, are to be in great part a liaison between this body and the city administration and the community, and I think that she would bring that to that position. So my recommendation is that we nominate Jennifer Savage for Vice President of the City Council.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Becerra. So the motion's on the floor. We'll open this up to public comment if there's anybody in the audience that wishes to make public comment on the motion that's on the floor. I'm not seeing anybody in the audience. Are you wishing to make public comment? Sure, the motion on the floor is nominating Jennifer Savage as City Council Vice President. No problem, no problem. All right, not seeing anybody else in the audience, I'll take a quick peek online. I don't see any hands raised online. All righty. So that wraps up public comment on this agenda item, and it brings it back to council questions or comments. And I see Councillor Jones, your hand is raised.
I'm going to be a little bit repetitive here, but I also wanted to thank Ms. Becerra for serving as vice president and being responsive, showing up, leaning in on lots of issues. I really appreciate your service. And Ms. Savage, I'm happy to support you. You work hard at this job. I think you have, how should I put this? You are connected to a lot of different circles in Missoula and bring a lot to the table because of that. So appreciate you willing to do the work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones, for your comments. Any other council comments or questions before we take a vote this evening? Okay, not seeing any then. Ms. Trimble, we can do a roll call vote when you're ready.
All right, voting on the nomination of Jennifer Savage as City Council Vice President, beginning with Campbell.
Yes.
Trask,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Jordan,
No.
McCoy,
Aye.
Nelson,
Yes.
Nugent,
Yes.
Ponton,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
and Becerra.
Yes.
And again, that's 10 in favor, 1 opposed.
Okay, thank you very much. Congratulations, Councillor Savage, and I'm looking forward to working with you in your capacity as Vice President of Council. I'll also save my remarks for Councillor Becerra during mayoral comments. All right, so next we'll move on to item 7.3, City Council President appoints committee membership. And Clerk Trimble, would you please provide the staff report on this?
Yes, so this is, this would be assigning council members to the committees, the council committees that meet on Wednesdays, that are outlined in the council rules, that we're all familiar with. In theory, we could assign different members to those different committees, and they could meet at different times and create recommendations that would come then to before the full council. It has been the tradition of the council members in the recent past to be on all committees, on all the standing committees. So that is what we're doing this evening, is seeing if that tradition is going to stay the same.
Thank you, Ms. Trimble, and would you please provide clarity? There's not a recommended motion for item 7.3. So is this a discussion item for the council this evening, or is this simply for notice for the upcoming committee of the whole discussion at the committee meetings on January 7th?
I believe in the council rule, it is that the city council president, who has recently been elected, assigns council members to their committees at this time.
Great. All right. So your first homework or your first task this evening is you're up. All right, Councillor Nugent, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Davis. Having heard no differing requests, I am appointing all council members to all standing committees of the City Council.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Congratulations, everyone. It's a robust set of committees and a day well spent together every Wednesday. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. All right. And I do believe that concludes item 7.3. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Again, thanks, folks, for taking care of important city council business at our first meeting of the year in order to get 2026 and 7 set up with success. Thank you so much. So we'll now move on to agenda item number 8, which is public comment for items, that's on the agenda, and that will be on the consent agenda coming up. So we have our consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda were approved in city council committees to be placed on the consent agenda to save time at city council meetings by voting on them as a package. The city clerk will read the list aloud, so citizens watching on MCAT will know what is on the consent agenda. We'll invite community comment on these items before we vote. So consent agenda, starting with 9.1, and Ms. Trimble, when you're ready to share that, please.
All right. A very short consent agenda this evening. We begin with a motion to ratify accounts payable or claims for checks dated December 23rd, 2025 in the amount of $6,298,213.61. We have another motion to ratify accounts payable or claims for checks dated December 30th, 2025 in the amount of $767,036.83. And finally, a motion to approve accounts payable or checks dated January 6th, 2026. Sorry, there's a typo there, in the amount of $562,742.04. And our last item on the consent agenda is a motion to approve the Wild Root subdivision Phase 1 final plat.
Okay. Thank you very much. So we've got those items on the consent agenda. And we'll go ahead and hear from any members of the public, if there's any public comment on the consent agenda this evening. I'm not seeing any in the audience. Is there anyone online that wishes to comment on the consent agenda? I'm not seeing any hands raised. Are there any council members that wish to separate any items or abstain from any of the consent agenda items? Okay, I'm not seeing any. So it looks like we can go ahead and move forward with a voice vote for the consent agenda, please.
All right, for this evening's consent agenda, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
And any opposed? And that passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you all very much. Appreciate that. That wraps up agenda item number 9, which is our consent agenda. And regular business, item number 10, we do not have any regular business under committee reports this evening. So we'll move on to agenda item number 11, which is public comment for items that are not on the agenda. This time is reserved for folks who have not had a chance to speak this evening for items that are not on the agenda. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak for items not on the agenda this evening? Okay, not seeing any. I'll check online. Any members of the public online wishing to make public comment for items not on the agenda? Okay. All right, not seeing any comment online either. That does wrap up our public comment for items that are not on the agenda. Thank you all very much. Next, move on to communications from the mayor. And I just want to start out by thanking both councilors Cheryl and Councilor Becerra for 2 years of service together. As a new mayor, it was so fantastic to have your guidance, your leadership, and your service as somebody figuring out what I was doing in the new role as mayor. I really appreciate you helping me understand the working dynamic between city council and the administration, help challenging me on issues necessarily to make sure we were making the best decisions possible together for the community when often we were, in lockstep. That's not always the way it will be, but I appreciate that we worked things out always to make sure that the decisions for the public were in the best interest of the public and the city. I just want to thank you so much for your leadership and for your kindness, and looking forward to our continued service together. So thank you so much. Thank you both. All right. I'll mention here that it was said earlier by a member of the public that our new Parks and Recreation Director, Marina Yoshioka, started with the city today. January 5th was her start. We're really excited to have this new department director start with us. So off we go with new leadership in the Parks and Rec Department. And then last, I'll just mention again, Happy New Year, folks, 2026. Looking forward to what's in the future for us. I'll go ahead and conclude my communications from the mayor, but I feel like when you're on a flight and there's an important game happening and the pilot comes on and has to tell you where we're at. So we're in quarter 4 of the NCA, and we have 32 seconds left, and it is a tie score, 28-28. So, however, I don't mean to distract from comments from City Council, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to council comments, and I will start with Councilor Melson this evening.
Thanks, Mayor Davis. I'll pass tonight.
Okay, absolutely, you bet. And Councilor Krask.
Thanks, I'll pass as well.
Okay, you bet. Councilor Ponton.
I'll be real brief and just say I'm excited to be here, and I'm really excited to work with each and every one of you and everybody on the city staff, and just a sincere thanks for the trust and support from the residents of Ward 2, and looking forward to getting to work. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Councilor Becerra.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to all my colleagues for allowing me to serve as your vice president for 2 years. It was an honor to serve with a new mayor and just help carry the responsibilities of that position. So thanks.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Councilor Savage.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a thank you to Ms. Cheryl and Ms. Becerra for their service. I very much appreciated what they brought to those roles, and I just wanted to say it's good to be back.
Thank you so much. Councilor Jones.
I'll just say it looks like it's going to go into overtime. So I'll leave it at that.
All right. And Councilor Nugent.
Thank you, Mayor Davis. There's 37 seconds left. Redbirds can still pull it out. All right. Quickly, I do want to say thank you, first of all, to my ward for colleague, Councilwoman Cheryl, and to my friend, Councilwoman Becerra, for serving as president and vice president. I think that the combination of the three of you and Mayor Davis being relatively new when the two of you took over was great at, I think, kind of bringing a steady hand to council and the city, and kind of putting a lot of distance between a very tumultuous 2 years prior to that. A lot happened in the first 2 years of this past term. So I really want to say thank you to both of you, and we'll continue to lean on you quite a bit for your knowledge and your experience. And I just want to thank the rest of council for giving me the opportunity to do this. I enjoy serving on council. Councilwoman Jones mentioned leaning into things. My wife would say I lean into too many things. But I think that's how we get good things done. And I think over the last 4 years, we've done a lot more good things than not. And I think that's always the goal, to try and make things better for the people who live in Missoula. And I'm looking forward to working with all of you, and Mayor, working with you and continuing our great friendship, and hopefully continuing to move the city forward. I do want to take one note of kind of personal pleasure here and say that this also means a lot to me, because my grandfather, James Nugent I, it's not to be confused with my father, served as the president of the Missoula City Council from 1967 to 1969. And I confirmed that with the archivist at the Mansfield Library today. And, you know, the mini archive of my uncles and my aunt on a text thread as well. But I just appreciate that. He passed away 15 years before I was born, so I never had the opportunity to meet him. But I come by it honestly, I guess, for better or worse. So thank you all for the opportunity. And on a completely separate note, I got a message from the honorary Missoula historian, otherwise known as my father, Jim, who wanted to make sure that we recognize that a good Missoulian who passed away Bill Jones, he believes might be the longest serving member of the Board of Adjustments, I believe it was. He said he served for over 2 decades, which might be the longest, 40 years. So it's 4 decades. So I think that we're going to say definitely the longest serving volunteer. And I think that that is a great testament to somebody who lived a good and full life and gave back to the city of Missoula. So I want to make sure that's out there as well.
Nice. Oh, thank you for your remarks, President Nugent, and thank you for carrying on a family legacy of public service. All right, Councilor Cheryl.
Yeah, I just want to quickly thank my colleagues for their support over the last 2 years. And sometimes it's like herding cats, so good luck with that. But really enjoyed serving, and I really enjoyed, Mayor, working with you as you got started in your tenure. And I hope that Meredith and I did help make that transition smooth, and just really enjoyed it. And I kind of look at you now and watched you through the campaign, and I don't even know how you accumulated all the knowledge that you did in 2 years. And it feels really good. And when we were at the swearing in this morning, my niece, who is here for a bit, came with us, and she is from Newfoundland. She is a dual citizen. And I told her, I said, well, I'm swearing in the mayor tomorrow morning. And she said, that sounds really American. I'm going. And so she really enjoyed it. And her comment to me was, wow, she's a really, really good speaker. And you are, and I have really enjoyed serving with you. And thank you to all of you that had supported me and helped me through being the president.
Thank you so much for your kind remarks. Really appreciate that. All right, Councilor Campbell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Apologize for missing all the swearing-ins this morning, so congratulations all. Couldn't get out of my brand new day job today, so it'd be remiss me to miss day one. But congratulations especially, and welcome to Councilmember Potton, and welcome back, Councilwoman Savage.
All right. Thank you, Councilor Campbell. Councilor McCoy.
Oh, I had jokes, but I'm just going to pass.
Okay. Save them up for next time. All right. And Councilor Jordan.
Yeah, nice and quick, because I have not had a chance to welcome our newest member, Councilor Ponton. So welcome to City Council, and I look forward to working with you. Thanks.
All right, great. Thank you so much. I know that Councilor Anderson was not able to join us. We don't have any council members online. So with that, I will adjourn our meeting this evening, 8:51 p.m. Thanks, everybody.